How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder. As we have now moved into the All-Star break, first half of the Major League, well, first half was over, but we're almost 100 games into the year. But we have reached the All-Star break. We're going to talk about the Yankees, talk a little bit about the All-Star festivities as well. The Home Run Derby is tonight, so I'll give you my thoughts on that, who I am picking to win the Home Run Derby. And there won't be Yankee bias with the pick, but we will get into that. So, the Yankees' first half has concluded. And they are currently 2 games back of the Blue Jays in the AL East. Blue Jays just lost a series to the Athletics. So, the Yankees are currently 2 games back of the Blue Jays. They're 53 and 43. But, what I will say, another team has become a concern now. The Rays are reeling right now. They're not playing good baseball. But a team that has now ascended is the Boston Red Sox. They are now a game behind the Yankees. They have the same amount of wins as the Yankees. They played 2 more games than the Yankees. They're 53 and 45. They have ended the first half. They have gone into the All-Star break winning 10 straight. They are playing really good baseball. And if you go back to when they traded Rafael Devers, and, I recapped the series against the Yankees. Yankees got swept by them. And I was saying, how could you trade your best player? Well, we've been talking about this. It's all over the, of course, social media and, TV personalities talking about it. Just how things behind the scenes went between the Red Sox and Devers. It wasn't good. They just had to part ways with Devers. They give him to the Giants. Giants are paying all of his contract. He's their problem now. And now with the Red Sox playing their younger players and bringing guys up from the minor leagues, they're looking really good right now. The starting pitching, Lucas Giolito has looked good for them, and Garrett Crochet as well. He was a great pickup for them this offseason. And Brian Bellows been pitching well. Aroldis Chapman's been good coming out of the bullpen. And we knew the Red Sox were going to hit. And they recently got Alex Bregman back, which is huge. So, we knew the Red Sox were going to hit. It's really all about their pitching, but their pitching has looked good. So now we're in a situation where, hey, the Yankees got to catch up to the Blue Jays, but, you got to pay attention to who's behind you now because, we were dealing with the Rays for a second. They were dealing with the Rays, and now all of a sudden the Red Sox have passed them, and now the Red Sox are literally right there, and they could pass the Yankees. And on top of that, the Yankees are 1-5 against the Red Sox, and this is before that they went on this incredible run going into the All-Star break. So that's a problem. That is a problem. And with the Yankees, they need to make additions going into the trade deadline. But now you're going to have to compete with the Red Sox because the Red Sox are going to be looking for, some pitching help as well. They don't need third base help, obviously. But they could be looking to maybe add another bat. But you're going to be competing with the Red Sox to try to, improve your bullpen as well, and maybe if the Yankees want to go and get a starter, which many people are advocating for, and I would like that as well. So that's an issue, and on top of that, you got the Blue Jays as well that are going to be looking to make additions. So yeah, Red Sox are a problem. So we'll see how that all plays out once everything resumes on Friday and we get it going. But the Yankees have to play better against the Red Sox. They got to play better against the AL East in general. They were not good against the AL East. But now let's talk about the Yankees now. As we're talking about the division, but let's talk about the Yankees. So these last 2 games were not great against the Cubs. Yankees couldn't hit. They couldn't hit Matthew Boyd on Saturday. They couldn't hit Shota Imanaga on Sunday. 2 tough lefties that the Yankees went against. Friday was a great win. We'll get into that in a second. But compared to where we were 4th of July weekend prior to Sunday, where the Yankees were still struggling, we're going into the All-Star break in some sort of a better mood because Cody Bellinger makes that double play. Yankees win on Sunday. They sweep the Mariners. You have that comeback win against the Mariners. When you're down 5-0 going into the later innings, you're getting no hit. Yankees coming back, that was great. And then, they shut out the Cubs on Friday. Carlos Rodon pitches really well. He pitches into the 8th inning. Judge makes all those great plays in the outfield, robbing Pete Crow Armstrong of a hit, and that was great. That was great. Cody Bellinger hitting 3 home runs, his first 3-homer game. Could have had 4 homers. If Kyle Tucker didn't rob him. But that was a great game to watch. But yeah, the last 2 games, not so great. And the Yankees, look, the deadline is going to be a very important thing for them, right? They have to nail this trade deadline. They have to, because they are not a perfect team right now. They're going to be getting some reinforcements back, both in the bullpen and with the rotation. Luis Gil made a rehab start recently, struck out 6 guys, gave up a run, a couple hits as well. But if he could be what he was last year, somewhat close to what he was last year, the AL Rookie of the Year, that's a huge pickup for the rotation. And I'm excited from what we saw with Cam Schlittler in one start. Hopefully we see more of that, because that also adds another weapon to the rotation. And then you're still waiting on, maybe getting Ryan Yarbrough back, and he was pitching well before he got hurt. And you got Stroman, you got Will Warren. But I think obviously the most important thing for the Yankees is fixing the bullpen. They have to get a couple of arms. You're going to get Fernando Cruz back at some point, but they got to figure out the bullpen. So, yeah, it's a lot to ask for. It's a lot to ask for. Can the Yankees do it? Well, can Brian Cashman do it? We'll have to wait and see. But, yeah, so the Yankees, they finish off the first half of the year. They sweep the Mariners. That was great. You win the first game, 11-0 against the Cubs. But then you just don't hit. Struggling against left-handers. And that's kind of plagued the Yankees in the past. And it plagued them here in this series. But Carlos Rodon pitched so well on Friday. Got through the 8th inning. You thought Aaron Boone was going to take him out of the game, and you read his lips. He was saying, "I'm good," even though he just had nothing left in the tank. And there were a couple guys on base. Kyle Tucker hits a ball down the right field line. Judge makes a great catch on that. Again, he had a few very good catches. Robbed Pete Crow Armstrong of a home run. Then had another diving play in that same inning, and then he had that in the 8th inning. Rodon was pumped up, and Rodon had a good quote after the game. Talking about when he first got to the Yankees and how that first season was rough for him, but he wanted to prove that he could bounce back from that. And last year there was that rough patch over the summer where he wasn't pitching well, but you know what, he had a good year last year overall, and I think I wouldn't say he was great in the postseason, but he was good in the Guardian series and the World Series. It was a tough matchup against the Dodgers, obviously. And he used up pretty much all of his energy after the first inning against the Royals. But I thought he showed you something in the championship series, and he's an all-star this year. He's pitched well this year. It was a very good bounce back start for him. Especially after struggling against the Mets. He's responded. He's looked like a much different pitcher than from what we've seen in the past, and he's going to play an important role for the Yankees in the second half. Also, we had a little bit of concern with Max Fried. So he had a blister on his, I believe it was his left index finger. And, he had to leave his start early on Saturday. Thankfully, this came at the right time because he's not going to pitch at all. So that can heal up. Blisters can be tricky. You think about it like it's a blister, but, it can be a pain at times for pitchers. So, thankfully, like I said, the All-Star break comes at the right time. But Max Fried, what a pickup! He was the first move of Plan B, and I don't know where the Yankees would be without him. So, we got to make sure that he is in good shape going forward, especially in the second half, where this is a pennant race. With the Blue Jays, and now you got the Red Sox. I mean, this division is not going to be easy to win. So you got to make sure he's healthy. Lose Clark Schmidt for the season. We're waiting for Luis Gil to come back. When it comes to, some of the other guys. Marcus Stroman's been fine since he's come back, but right before he got hurt, he got lit up by the Giants. I don't know how big of a role he's going to play in the second half. I like what I saw to Cam Schlittler in his first start. Will Warren, I mean, he had a very good spring training. Many people were excited about how he looked. Compared to what we saw last year, he's definitely been a different pitcher. He's definitely struggles out of the gate at certain points in the first inning. He struggles to get out of the first inning. But once he gets out of that, for the most part, he pitches well. He's had a couple of really bad starts against the Dodgers, against the Blue Jays. But you know what? He's been solid for them. I don't think the Yankees could have asked for any more out of him. And we'll see what he does in the second half. The bullpen has just been a mixed bag. Luke Weaver got hurt. Before that, he was amazing. Comes back, he's been struggling. But his latest appearances, he looks more like Luke Weaver. The break will really help him. Devin Williams, many people were trying to run him out of town. He comes, he comes back and is pitching a lot better as of late and has reclaimed the closer role. And Yankees are just kind of looking for that formula in the bullpen. We've seen so many different guys. Fernando Cruz has looked great at times this year, but, he's been on the IL twice now. Jonathan Loáisiga, when he first came back, he was doing okay, but lately he's just giving up home runs like crazy. I mean, the velocity is there, but, the stuff is there. The location's not. That's something that he's going to have to try to figure out because they can figure it out. He could be a real weapon out of the bullpen. Tim Hill has been fine for the most part. He's struggled a little bit at times. Ian Hamilton's looked good as of late, although he gave up a home run the other day. So, look, Yankees dealt with bullpen problems last year. And if they could figure it out, get a couple of arms, they'll be fine. But I think the biggest concern for the Yankees, if they could figure out the bullpen, which I think they will, when you have the Yankees, when you have their lineup get shut down like it does against good pitching, because we could talk about the offensive stats, and how they're like, tops in a lot of these categories, a lot of the hitting categories. But you could say, look at some of the games. They go up against the Brewers first week of the season, and they just destroy their pitching. Well, Brewers were missing some guys in their rotation. And the one game that they did pitch well was Freddie Peralta, who is an all-star this year. So you could look at that. But, I don't. It's going to be interesting who they acquire. Because if you acquire, let's say, a Ke'Bryan Hayes, that helps you defensively, but offensively not so much. But if you get a Eugenio Suarez, that's going to help you lengthen out your lineup, but he might not be good necessarily defensively. So, but, when it comes to the lineup, I mean, obviously Aaron Judge had a great first half, an historic first half, and he's on his way right now to winning his second consecutive MVP. Although Cal Riley, might have something to say about that with the first half he has had, and we will see him tonight in the home run derby. But Judge has been awesome as usual. Plan B, Cody Bellinger. I mean, he after a slow start, he has really picked it up, and many of his teammates and even the manager advocating for him to be an all-star. That's how good he's been as of late. I mean, both defensively. He's saved the Yankees a couple times. The Mets double play, like I said, and then also the diving catch against the Royals earlier in the season. But he's an all-around great player. Could do it all, run the bases, play good defense, and, he's made for Yankee Stadium. Hopefully the Yankees can, if he opts out, hopefully the Yankees can work out a deal to keep him around because he is a very good player. Paul Goldschmidt got off to a really hot start, but he cooled off, kind of picking it up a little bit. But, I mean, I guess it was kind of expected just because of the age. When it comes to Goldschmidt, he is 37. But he's been very good over at third base. He's been a rock over there, especially with some of the throws that some of these guys are making over to him. You need a guy like Goldschmidt at first base. But he's been picking it up, and I think the All-Star break, for a guy like Goldschmidt, that should definitely help him. Jazz Chisholm, I mean, he was hurt this year. Got off to, a bad start. I mean, he was hitting a bunch of home runs, but, the average was not there. He's batting under 200, but he's come back, and he has looked great. And, the Yankees made the right move, of course, moving him back to second base. So he's another guy. Yankees, I think, should extend him, and he loves being a Yankee. He's got the swing for Yankee Stadium. Good first half for Jazz, of course, and he will be at the All-Star game. And in the home run derby as well. From the young guys, Ben Rice, Jason Dominguez, Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe, And Volpe's, again, topic of discussion. Wells, look, want to see the average up a little bit more, but he is driving in runs. He's going to finish with, close to 30 home runs this year. So, and he definitely started to pick it up, made some adjustments in his stance. But he's been getting banged around behind the plate. I mean, so many foul balls he's getting hit with, But the Yankees, they got J.C. Scar, they got Ben Rice that could, spell him here and there. So that's good at least. But, yeah, definitely would like to see the average a little bit up. But he's, like I said, driving in runs, hitting home runs. So hopefully a big second half for Austin Wells is in place. Ben Rice has had a good year. It's just, now with Stanton back, it's like it's hard to get him in the lineup, and I know some people have suggested that maybe in the offseason you try to get him to learn how to play third base so you can get him more at bats. Because I don't know what's going to happen with Bellinger. Goldschmidt, I don't think is coming back. But maybe Ben Rice is the everyday first baseman next year. We'll see. We'll see how this offseason goes for the Yankees. But Ben Rice is going to have a huge role on this team going forward. It's just unfortunate right now with the logjam that the Yankees have. But you got to like what Ben Rice has done offensively. It definitely has cooled off as opposed to the beginning of the season. But he's been very good. Dominguez, I mean, he has really started to heat up as of late. But, watching Mike Francesa, he brought up many good points that, hey, you want him to play every day. But the defense has been a bit of an issue lately, which was a concern going into the year, although I think it was definitely better than what we saw last year in his limited playing time out in the outfield. But that is a concern because, yeah, in a big spot, like, do you trust Dominguez out there? Why do you think the Yankees had to go with Verdugo last year in the World Series and, well, in the playoffs in general? Because Dominguez's fielding was questionable. Because, again, there were some balls that he misplayed in the Mets series and in the Cubs series. You do have to worry about that. Because your best defensive alignment is Bellinger in left field, Grisham in center, and Judge in right, obviously. So I do agree with that, but Dominguez, to me, should be playing every day. And then, of course, you got Volpe. Oh, Anthony Volpe. It amazes me. He is now the poster child of the current Yankee that every fan just wants out. They don't want it. They've had enough of him. And, I defended him a little bit because I said, hey, do we not remember what he did in the playoffs last year? He had the biggest hit, one of the biggest hits he had one of the biggest hits in the World Series. At least he helped, lead the Yankees to their only win in that series against the Dodgers was the Grand Slam. I wouldn't say that was the biggest hit of the Yankees postseason, but it was, you could put it up there. Like if there was like a top five, it's definitely in there. It's definitely in there. Obviously, you give it to some of the other, you give it to Soto's homer and Stan's homers, but you got to put Volpe's Grand Slam in there. But yeah, that's where I kind of came to the defense of Volpe. But I mean, it's just, but then you have the Yes Network put up that stat that's gone up with the amount of runners that he's left on base when he comes up to the plate. The defense is taking a step back. I mean, more plays against the Cubs now. One where he doesn't charge after the ball, and on a force out, guy ends up making it to second base. I think it was Suzuki on the Cubs. Beats it out. They review it. He ends up being safe. And then, I'm trying to think of the other play, but it's just, oh yeah, and then on a casual throw to first base, he's kind of just lofting it to first base. Runner ends up beating it out. I mean, what's going on? Defense was a little bit sloppy in this series once again. You had Peraza making a bad throw to Jazz. That should have been an inning-ending double play. This is the game on Saturday, and then Jazz just airmails the ball to first base. That wasn't a good look. But yeah, it's defense has continued to still be kind of an issue. Although it definitely has been a lot better as of late. But with Volpe, look, he took accountability, as you should. It's just gotten to the point where, I mean, what do you do? There's people suggesting that they should send him down. You know what? I don't have an issue with that. The problem is, you do that, So then what happens? You're going to have Peraza play short? Who's playing, then what are you going to do then? Peraza play short and then Yorbit Vivas is going to play third base? Is that what we're going to do? They don't really have like a backup plan at shortstop if they send down Volpe. That's the problem. There's nobody that can replace him. There's no one that can replace him. And if you replace him with Peraza doesn't hit. Peraza's not hitting at all. And that's why I said, like, if the top 7 is clicking, like, I'll live with the bottom of the order not really producing. But when you have the 2 games that you had over the weekend, that's when you need, maybe the bottom of the order to kind of step up. But you're not going to get that. And Volpe's bat is just non-existent. Non-existent. About a month ago, he has over a 750 OPS, right? And you're saying, you know what? He's not doing that bad. But now, you look at his stats. Like 10 homers, 49 runs batted in at the break is good. But the batting average, 214. The OPS is 671 right now. He's really regressed. And look, I don't know what it is. He's in his own head. It's a mental thing. That's really what you could point to. It's a mental thing. And maybe, give him the benefit of the doubt, this All-Star break can really help him. But what doesn't help him is the constant, the way the Yankees address the media with him. And I was listening to Michael Kay's show, and he brought up something that happened during the Mets series. A question was asked, and Aaron Boone, got a little defensive over Volpe and kind of lashed out a little bit. That's the kind of stuff that frustrates Yankee fans. Is being overly protective of Volpe. Now, I'm not advocating for it. You go up there and you just completely bash him when he does something wrong. No. But there needs to be a little bit more of a realization. There needs to be more of some sort of criticism, maybe. A little bit. And we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. There could be things said away from the media, away from everything, that like, hey, you got to play better. This is not you. But when you hear Boone and you hear the front office talk about Volpe, it's like there's nothing wrong. And that's what frustrates the fan base. But something has to be done. And look, we've seen Volpe be a better player because he's had these hot streaks in the past at the plate. Look at last year when he was leading off. He was leading off, and then you had Soto and Judge. That was looking good for a period. We need that Volpe. It's in there. And I know this was brought up, but when he got hit on the elbow against the Red Sox, could that have something to do with it? I don't know. But I just hope that some way, somehow, Volpe can figure it out. Because I do want him, like Brian Cashman said, he's more of the solution, not the problem. I want that for Volpe. I want him to be part of the solution. I don't want this to be it. I don't want him to be another prospect that just goes by the wayside and he's playing, with the Athletics. Well, maybe he'll be playing, second base or something. I don't know. Because Jacob Wilson, who's starting in the All-Star game, the rookie shortstop, he's having a very good year. But I'm just saying, like, you're going out and playing, in Vegas or something with the Athletics. I don't know. I don't want that for him. I want him to be a Yankee. But at the same time, if you don't produce, somebody else is eventually going to come up. Or they're going to find a replacement. And sometimes the Yankees don't act too quickly. They tend to let this play out longer than it should. But Volpe is in his third year. And many fans were expecting him to take that next step. And this was a year that he really had to take that next step. Because the Yankees didn't re-sign Soto. They got Judge is not getting any younger. You can't rely on Stanton to stay healthy for a whole season. The young guys have to produce. And some of them are. We talked about Ben Rice. Dominguez is starting to come alive. Wells had a decent first half. You look at the overall body of work, he did have a decent first half. But I want to see, compared to the start that he got off to and the spring training that he was having, I was expecting more from him. But I think the first half for him has been okay offensively. Volpe was another guy that needed to produce, and he's not producing. He's going the other way. So maybe this is a good time for him to get his mind right and come out in the second half and look a lot better. But if we get to the second half of the year, well, again, past the second half, but you know what I mean. Final couple of months here. And Volpe is still not producing. That's a problem. I mean, it already is a problem. But this problem just got a lot worse. And I don't know what you do. Like if Volpe continues this trend and he just never bounces back from it. Like what are you going to go into next year and just be like, we'll see what happens this year. I think next year then, one way or another, there's going to be competition. If he does not produce. So, I don't know. It's tough right now. Because, again, the way he was propped up, he was going to be a star. And he's not there. He's going backwards. But we'll see what he's made of now as we go into the second half. There's got to be some sort of adjustments. I don't know. But overall, with the first half of the Yankees here, I think I went through everybody. We talked about the young guys. We talked about Judge. I didn't really bring up Grisham, but Grisham, he's been very good this year. You know, compared to last year when everybody wanted to run him out of town because he just couldn't hit, and you know some lackadaisical plays in the outfield. You know, he's been very good for them this year. You know, so not really that many complaints with Grisham, but he could be, he could be on the move next year because he's a free agent. So we'll see. But yeah, Yankees got to get a third baseman. Oswaldo Cabrera was having a decent year before he got hurt. You know, that kind of got swept under the rug. You know, his importance to the team, and that kind of sparked all of this infield the infield dilemma. You know, putting Jazz back at third, and LeMahieu being in second. Now DJ not being here anymore, and they put Jazz back to second, and now you got Peraza playing more, and Peraza just doesn't give you anything offensively. Like at least with Vivas will work the count. You know, Vivas puts up good at bats. He had that great at bat in the final game against the Mets in the Bronx that set up that big inning for them. You know, I like Vivas. But yeah, Peraza just. If the Yankees make a move, he might be the odd man out, and he plays very good defense. It's just the bat is just not there, and it's really hard to believe that this guy started in a playoff series for the Yankees in 2022, when the shortstop position was an issue then, when you had IKF and then you put in Peraza, just that was a mess. And you also had Oswaldo Cabrera, playing in the outfield. Yeah. I don't know. But it is hard to believe that once upon a time that did happen. I feel like a team, if the Yankees DFA him, I feel like somebody will pick him up, give him a shot. But yeah, I mean, you can't have a guy hitting under 200. I mean, not even just 200. He's been like in the 150s. And he's playing the hot corner. So, yeah. Look, compared to where the Yankees were a couple weeks ago, just kept losing, get swept by the Blue Jays. You lose the first two to the Mets. The break has come, and you do feel a little bit better, but there's also things that need to be corrected. They finally pulled the plug on DJ LeMahieu. It was tough to see, but it had to be done. It was long overdue. Supposedly the Yankees are, going to do something big, according to, I think it was John Heyman said it. And Brian Cashman said they're going to, go to town. I mean, again, what is going to be out there? And look, I'm open to them trading Spencer Jones, but it would have to be for a star. It would have to be a package that would be seismic. Like, I don't think trading Spencer Jones the way he's been playing for Eugenio Suarez, I'm not doing that. Like, the way Spencer Jones has been raking in the minor leagues right now, I am not giving him up for a rental. Unless that rental was, like if the Yankees were getting Jose Ramirez, then it would have my interest. But Ramirez wouldn't be a rental. But if you're giving him up for Eugenio Suarez, you're giving him up for Ryan McMahon, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Or if you're giving him up for a star pitcher, like if the Yankees were getting Paul Skeens, you can have Spencer Jones. But that's not happening either. So, but the Yankees will make moves. I do have faith that they will get the bullpen straightened out because that's something that they've been able to consistently build for years. They've always had a good bullpen. Last couple of years, the bullpen has definitely struggled at times, but I think they'll figure it out. It's just the other areas. I do have concerns. Like, starter, like if they get Luis Gil back and he's Luis Gil, like I said earlier, all right. Then I could live without a starter. If he's guaranteed that he's going to, pitch for the rest of the year, then we're good there. And you have the top three of Fried, Rodon, Gil. But they do need another bat. They need another bat. Because you can't have Peraza at the hot corner for the rest of the year. It's got to be an improvement there. But overall, what are my thoughts on the Yankees? I mean, they are a good team. There is no question. They are a good team. They're not great. They're not fraudulent. They are in the middle. They're a good team. They are also an incomplete team that needs to make improvements. Add to this roster. And if you make the right moves, then maybe you could go on a run. But the American League is not what it was last year. Nope. There's not going to be 3 AL Central teams making the playoffs this year. That is not happening. And the AL, well, actually no, the Tigers did make it last year. But they are a much better team than they were last year, that's for sure. Not only are they a much better team, they are going from being a wild card team to potentially, right where we are right now, they potentially could be having home field advantage throughout the entire American League playoffs. That's how good they are. Very good pitching, solid lineup. You got a few all-stars in the starting lineup tomorrow. Gleyber Torres, former Yankee, Riley Green, and Javier Baez. Tariq Skubal will also be starting tomorrow in the All-Star game. You got Tariq Skubal against Paul Skeens. It's too bad we couldn't get that when they had the doubleheader earlier this year, but they were starting the same day. It's just different games. So the Tigers are a problem. The Blue Jays, right now they're not going away. All right, well, you got to catch up to them first. Astros, they're back for the moment. You got to deal with the Red Sox. And then I don't know who that third wild card's going to be. There's like several teams battling it out for that. So it's tough. You could have 4 AL East teams make the playoffs this year. And if that's the case, and the Yankees are playing in the wild card round, that's not good. That is not good because the Yankees are not good against the AL East. And I already told you, if the Yankees are in the wild card round, I do not trust them. I do not trust them in a short series. Look, if you have Rodon and Fried, yes, you have a chance to win. But I would be more concerned about their hitting because that's been a problem for them. It was a problem for them last year too, but obviously they made it to the World Series. But the prior playoff runs, I should really say the prior playoff appearances, because 2021 they were out in the wild card game. They didn't hit like against the Astros. Didn't hit, which is normal when they play the Astros against playoffs. Against the Red Sox, didn't really hit. Garrett Cole also didn't pitch well, but they didn't hit. 2020, you lose to the Rays in 5 games. You only scored 1 run in the 5th game. Judge homer. It's a problem. And I do worry about that going into the postseason. Aaron Judge needs to have a much better postseason. Has to. And I hope he does. I hope he does, because it's frustrating. It's aggravating looking on social media and just seeing everybody, bring up, what he did last year in the postseason. And what he's done in the postseason overall. So, yeah. Everybody resumes playing on Friday, so let's kind of go through the All-Star festivities. So the Home Run Derby is tonight. So you got James Wood, Brent Rooker, Junior Caminero, O'Neal Cruz, Byron Buxton, Jazz Chisholm, Cal Riley, and Matt Olson. So different Home Run Derby than, not really different, but I don't really know how to put it. Because I was talking about it with my family last night. Yes, it is different. It is different because, back, you go back 10 years ago. You had Big Papi, you had Pujols, Stanton. You had all these guys, and now it's just the different players this time around. Pete Alonso, who's been in it constantly, he's taking a back seat. Soto won it 1 year. He's obviously not going to be there. So, there are some, not to say that these players don't deserve it. You got some good contestants here. But, I am going to be watching it. I'm curious to see how it goes. Now, I will say, I have James Wood winning the Home Run Derby. I told you I'm not going to be biased and say Jazz Chisholm's going to win it. In fact, I hope Jazz Chisholm, no offense, I hope he's knocked down in the first round. I don't want him to hurt himself or mess up his swing from doing the Derby. So, look, Jazz, go out there, have fun, but I'll be fine with him getting knocked down in the first round. But I'm going to pick James Wood to win the Derby. Cal Riley is the favorite right now. If you go on DraftKings, because that's what I was looking at for his or for the odds for the Home Run Derby. So Cal Riley is the favorite. I'll pull up the odds right now. I think James Wood had the third best odds. So Cal Riley's plus 295. O'Neal Cruz is plus 340. James Wood is plus 400. Matt Olson plus 800. Brent Rooker plus 850. Byron Buxton plus 900. Jazz Chisholm plus 1200. And then Junior Caminero has the same odds as Jazz plus 1200. So I'm not going to go with the favorite. Went with James Wood. He's had a very good year for the Nationals. And that Nationals trade, when they traded Soto to get him, Mackenzie Gore, and C.J. Abrams, that was a great trade. Nationals still are not a very good team. They did recently let go of Davey Martinez and Mike Rizzo, general managers. So, and right now they're in last place in the NL East. And their run differential is minus 102. 20 games under 500. They're expecting better things. So we will see what happens. But, he's had a good year. Cal Riley, look, he's not letting up with the home run chase. He has, he had 2 more home runs against the Tigers the other day on Apple TV. He had one, and then he had the grand slam later in the game. What he's been doing has been phenomenal, but it's still Aaron Judge right now for the MVP in my book. So and the Mariners right now they're 5 games back of the Astros for the division. They currently hold the 3rd wild card spot. Rays are 1.5 games back. But the Derby will be interesting tonight. I'm not as juiced up with the All-Star festivities as I used to be. When I was younger, I would, dedicate my time to it. Obviously, I still am tonight, but I'm just not. I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. Not feeling it. But we'll see. And then the All-Star game, same thing. Tomorrow, starting lineups were announced. Like I said, great pitching matchup to start off the game. You got Paul Skeens, who needs to start getting some run support from the Pirates. Because, right now, what is he, 4-8? What's going on? It's Jacob deGrom-esque. You're just not getting run support. But, so for the AL, you got Gleyber Torres leading off, playing second base. Riley Green batting second of the Tigers. So back-to-back Tigers to start the American League lineup. He's playing left field. Aaron Judge, former teammate of Gleyber Torres, batting third, playing right field. Cal Riley batting fourth. Catching, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. batting fifth. Playing first base, Ryan O'Hearn of the Baltimore Orioles having a good year. DHing. Junior Caminero playing third of the Tampa Bay Rays. Javier Baez playing center. Jacob Wilson playing short for the Athletics. And then Tariq Skubal. And then you got the National League lineup. Shohei Ohtani leading off, DHing. Ronald Acuna Jr. in left field, batting second. Kentel Marte batting third, playing second. Freddie Freeman batting fourth, playing first. Manny Machado batting fifth, playing third. Will Smith catching. Kyle Tucker in right field. Francisco Lindor playing short. Finally made an All-Star appearance as a Met, batting eighth. And then Pete Crow Armstrong batting ninth, playing center field for the Cubs, and then Paul Skeens is starting. National League lineup is better than the American League lineup, in my opinion. And it's usually the opposite. Usually the American League wipes out the National League. The American League has dominated the National League over the years. I feel like here the National League should win tomorrow, I think. But we'll see. It depends on how it goes in the later innings too. Because sometimes the games are tight. And somebody hits a clutch home run. I remember there was that one year where the National League just jumped out to a huge lead. That was when the game was at Kauffman Stadium. They were up by a lot, but American League usually dominates. But yeah, this could be one where the National League does win. The lineup is definitely better than the American League, in my opinion. So, but yeah, we'll see. We will have a show tomorrow. We're gonna try to get Ben on tomorrow. Talk about a bunch of different things, NBA stuff and NFL, and with. First half of the baseball season. We'll get into all that. So that'll be nice. for tomorrow. So make sure to tune in for that. And as always, everybody, remember, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Greatly appreciated. Follow us on the social media accounts. And make sure to listen to us wherever you get your podcasts as well. And as always, everybody, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off. Have a good one, and I will talk to you guys next time. Take care.